You're tuned in to Shake, Rattle, and Goal, the official podcast of your Springfield Thunderbirds.
Becca's there on the backhand, scoring the save, rebound in the crease, they score!
Hosted by Matt Baker and Steve Forney. A show that's everything Springfield hockey, with interviews including players, coaches, and staff.
The Springfield Indians repeat as the Calder Cup champions.
Listen to this podcast on all major streaming platforms and wherever you download podcasts.
In his first year at the helm, Kevin McDonald and Drew Bannister have the Teamers in the Calder Cup Finals.
Watch the podcast on the official Shake, Rattle, and Goal YouTube page at SRG Podcast. And now, here are your hosts, Matt Baker and Steve Forney. And this episode number 16 of season 2 of the Shake, Rattle, and Goal podcast is proudly brought to you by our friends at White Lion Brewing in Amherst and in downtown Springfield, by our friends at Brewcade on Walnut Street in Agawam, and by our friends at Landscaping That Fitz, 413-847-0338. Alongside Matt Baker, I am Steve Forney. Matt, how are you, my friend?
Doing well. We're probably just starting the cold that you just got over, huh? How are you guys feeling in the Forney household?
No,
you
we're
guys,
all
making
right.
Away?
Yeah, last week was rough. I had COVID. My daughter had COVID, so yeah. Yesterday was my first day out of the basement that I was secluded to, and now here I am, right back in the basement,
right back,
ready to record the podcast. So, but no, it's all right. It was a tough go. That game the other night was miserable. I had the mask on, and it sounded all muffled, and I felt terrible. But I don't want to get into it. But like, why do I get these shots? I get the COVID shots, and then I get COVID, and it knocks me out for a week. Like, why?
Yeah.
What do we do? Yeah. Like, I don't understand the process. But
Sickness,
anyway,
man, it stinks.
It's just, yeah, it's like, if only medicine were a science, you know what I mean? So we got some games that we wanted to look at. We have more injuries we got to talk about, which is just brutal. Yeah. And I think the feeling that a lot of fans are having, and I think the feeling that I'm having too, is that the inconsistency was running before on, 3 wins, 4 losses, 4 wins, 3 losses. Now it just feels kind of like night in, night out. Mm-hmm. You just don't know what to expect. And that Bridgeport game at home, you texted me like, let's just score a bunch of goals and just bury this team. And I don't know. I just had this. I'm like, not tonight. Like, this is going to be a battle. Yeah. And I think the inconsistencies have now gone to period by period, where you're not really sure what you're going to get.
You nailed it there. That's kind of where I was going to go with. The inconsistencies are period to period, and that's the tough part. And look, again, this is a team where it's been very streaky. And now though that it's just inconsistent play, and do you have to check yourself, or me? Do I have to check myself and remind myself it's a young team? But at this point in the season, is that gone? They've had their ups and their downs, and you come out like we're recording on a Wednesday night later than usual because of the Monday game. I'm looking right now live. Utica is playing Bridgeport, and it's 5-0 with a minute left in the first period.
Utica is up.
Utica is up 5-0 against Bridgeport right now, and you're like, Springfield, that could be you. Like, for whatever reason, it just seems like against Bridgeport, when you got them down, you don't want to kick them. Well, no, it's okay to kick them when they're down. Get on them, because there's no way you should be giving up a multi-goal lead against Bridgeport, because I'm not saying every game needs to be an 8-0 blowout, but you can't let down against any team. But it is frustrating. Fans, you can tell on your fan rant that you're frustrated. Look, and we know the players are probably they're frustrated. I'm sure the coaching staff is frustrated, but I will be a voice of optimism until there is no more optimism to be had. If this team gets healthy, and I'm not 100% confident, we can just say when, because it just seems like this is that type of year, injury. But if they can get healthy and get hot, this is a team that can make a run in a playoff. And I'm going to rest on that. And I'm going to embrace the ups and downs, the frustrations of this season. I'm going to expect it to continue. And I don't know, that's where I'm at. But it is frustrating because you see them go to Bridgeport in an empty arena, not much to get up for, and you win that game. We've seen them over the past 2 weeks win in Providence, win in Hartford. We know they can do that. We know they can hang in Hershey. They've beaten Laval this year. So we know what the team is capable of. The big question mark, the big just elephant in the room is the consistency. What are you getting, not just on a night in, night out basis, but a period to period? Mm-hmm. Because going back to that Bridgeport, and we'll probably get more into it, but that first period, I guess, against Bridgeport, they look great.
The first Bridgeport game. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, the one they ended up losing.
Oh, against you're talking about the home game.
Yes.
I mean, I'm glad you brought up the Utica score, and I haven't even looked at it because that's what you mentioned, putting the foot on the throat. I mean, that is like, you get up 2-0, you need to get up 4-0. And if you get up 4-0, Bridgeport will lay down. Utica might score 9 goals tonight.
Yeah.
5-0 the first period. They could score 9. Bridgeport has already laid down in that game. You had them on the ropes.
Yeah.
And you outshot them 19-5 in the first period. And then you took your foot off the gas. They tie the game. Now they're back into it. Whereas if you score and make it 3-0, game's probably over.
Yeah.
They're gonna roll over. They want to get 100%. The heck out of there. And
is that what the shot total was after the first 19-5?
I'm sorry, I my dyslexia kicked in. 15-9. So we had 15, they had 9, but even still, that's a nice shot advantage.
That's exactly. And what's that? And we know this as a Thunderbird fan, as a Thunderbird podcast. We know shots don't tell the whole story. They get outshot and win, and so there's nuance to that. But giving up 9 shots is telling me, while you're scoring 15 and you're up 2-0 after the first, you are dictating and controlling the game. You are clearly a more talented roster. So you just have to carry that over. Now, I will say, and we said this pregame, like, it is really hard to beat the same team 3 times in a row in that short of a span. It's hard to do at any professional level, but coulda, shoulda, woulda. Right. And I think that's the frustration. Yeah. And
I mean, shots, you're right. Shots don't tell it all, but I even texted you, like, it went from shots being 15-9 to being 16-15.
Yeah.
I mean, Bridgeport started the second period by launching, they had like
12 in a row.
12 shots in a row in under like 4.5 minutes.
Yeah.
And you could, again, if you get that third goal,
that doesn't happen.
You come out the gates, you score, or you get a late one in the first period. Now it's 3-0 ball game. That sort of lack of focus coming into the third period is what really lost them. The second period is really what lost them the game. And once Bridgeport sniffs a little bit of life, again, we've talked about them, they're scrappy and they're PO'd and they do anything to win. So it's interesting. The first game in Bridgeport, that was the team that I was like, oh, this is the losing 5-0 to Utica Bridgeport team. Because we don't really see them, right? We talk about that. Like, I want to watch them play against Hershey. What's the difference? Bridgeport gets up to play Springfield. Yeah. They get up. They do. And that's why I think that they lay down easier against teams like Lehigh Valley and Hershey and Charlotte. Whereas they play us, they're like, we got a chance. We kind of own this team. We got a chance here. Yeah. So I think they get up. They have 8 wins? 4 of them are against us. So yes. I mean, they do. They get up to play against us, and we need to do a better job of recognizing that they could actually be more of a challenge than, say, a team like Hartford or Lehigh Valley, because they have that little bit of extra juice, knowing that, hey, I know we stink, but we could maybe win this game.
Yeah,
and that's sort of their mentality, and so that was a brutal game to lose. And again, I know I'm like a shot psycho, but I mean, you gave up 42 shots to Bridgeport. 42 shots to Bridgeport. I know that Bushinger was hurt, but again, you put Scott Harrington came in. So it's not like it's not like it was Marc-Andre Gaudet from the Florida Everblades. This is a guy that's been in the league forever. So we've talked about the defensive structure. What was different in that game against Bridgeport where you gave up 42 shots and you just kind of let them do whatever they want in the offensive zone compared to the night before against Providence? Even though you lost that game, they seem to be more in control of their own zone. Not at the beginning of the game, but they seem to at least be in control. Whereas that Bridgeport game was just a hot mess. It was a weird game, really beginning to end. Just strange.
I think as to put it simply, I think it's just focus. Maybe, right? Is it attention to detail? We talked about this a few weeks ago. The margin of victory is so small, and it's easy to just look at a standing and say, cakewalk. But until you're up 5-0, no team is going to let down. And I think there is something to what you're saying, where Bridgeport just has that little aura around Springfield that we could be down 2, we could be down 3, we could, 3-1, we're still in it. We can score 2 quick ones on this team. We've done it
never
before,
out of it.
So they're never, there's that belief. And when you've got the Walrus, the 6'8", I don't mean that in a completely derogatory way, but
look up the Geico commercial.
He's 6'9", actually. Ryan actually, he's like, I feel like every time we play him that he grows an inch, but he was
so
listed.
True.
He was listed at 6'9", so the dude's huge, and numbers don't lie all the time. Springfield has struggled this year with taller goalies, and so there's just, but it's focus, it's attention to detail. I think that's where the 42 shots come in. I think it's not for a lack of, while you're watching the game, you're not looking at this team saying you're not hustling, but it is maybe just a lack of focus. It's one turnover after another in the neutral zone. It's, I don't know, not covering the backside. It's making an extra pass or not making the next pass. It's just those little things.
The neutral zone was a mess.
Yeah.
And it's, I think it's sort of in their head where they play a different style when they play against this Tikkanen. Like you mentioned the extra pass. Okay, well, we have to get him moving laterally because he's so big, and we have to do this, we have to do that. Just go play the system and the scheme that you always play that works for you.
Yeah.
And you get shoot, crash, cause chaos. It doesn't have to be this beautiful tic-tac-toe goalie sprawling across. In fact, they tried to do that, and the guy actually made a kind of nice save because, again, he's so massive. He doesn't have to go far from post to post, right? So, like, they seemed out of sorts playing against this team, and I think it's a little bit of them being in their own head against this team, them being in their own head against this goalie, and Bridgeport getting up for it a little bit and saying, "You're right, we're not going to lose 2 in a week, and we know that we can beat you, and we know that we're good enough to beat you." And they do. The guys that produce for Bridgeport. Liam Foodie is a good player. Sammy Bolduc is good on the back end. Chris Terry, as much as Springfield does not like the guy always plays well against Springfield. Foodie's got 13 goals. Jamel Smith's been in the league a long time. I'm not saying that these guys are Gretzky, but Matt Maggio is a top prospect. Jeffries can play. So like these are guys that I'm not saying this roster top to bottom is good. It's not. But the top of the roster is good.
It's good.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely,
so like
yes.
You give 3 or 4 or 5 guys a little extra space, then they're going to bury it no matter what team they're on, no matter what is on the front of the jersey. So
yeah,
you got to give Bridgeport a little bit of props for that, for them. Cole Bardreau, which we'll get into that situation, I think is a heck of a captain. And, if you have the good leadership, you got a couple guys that can play, you can win some games in the AHL. And that's exactly what Bridgeport did.
Yep.
So,
but hey, it wasn't all bad. Let me take a minute and backtrack a little bit. Otto Stenberg in his first AHL start. Congratulations, Otto Stenberg, on your first goal. Hugh McGing.
Any assist? I think he had 2 points.
He did. Yes. Yep.
Yep.
Hugh McGing is rolling. You called it. What'd you say? 6 goals in the next 10 games or something like that?
I think I might have.
Something like, right. Well, he's halfway there because I think he's got 4 goals in his last 5 games or something like that. So Hugh McGing is has always been a spark of energy, always been a player I've loved watching, and it's good to see the hard work is paying off in clumps. He's looked good. I think going back, and now I'm a bit, it's all jumbled again with all these. I think it was the second game against Bridgeport that was when they ended the game trying. I think it was Saturday night where they're looking to scrap with Ellis at the end of the game, Jamel Smith and Sam Bitton going back and forth all game long. I think it was something like 11 power plays. I think Springfield was 1 for 5, Bridgeport
2 for 6.
2 for 6. Okay, yeah. So, but that was a victory, and credit to be had to the Thunderbirds for keeping their composure to an extent. I think one thing I am proud of, and it's good to see, proud might have been the wrong word to use there, but Bridgeport likes to get under your skin. They like to try to push your buttons and really get you off your game. And that's a common strategy, I think, when you're competing up against a top to bottom roster that is more talented than you. You have to get them out of their game to try to control it. And to the Thunderbirds' credit, I don't think they got too rattled, but every little extra poke, every extra little push or face wash, you had 2 to 3 Thunderbirds jumping in there within a second. So credit to the team. And I do believe this has kind of been all season long. The team does play together. They do play for each other. There is effort. There is a desire to play and to win. And, the ups and downs of a season, that's where you look for the leadership to pull you through. But I think this team, again, does have the makeup where if they can get into the playoff and be healthy, I do have faith this team can make a run because they play for each other. They can play smart. They can see another team is trying to get under our skin. In that game, though, surprisingly, you didn't have a massive Sam Bitton brawl or a team brawl, even a whole line out there. They kind of they did what they needed to do. They stood up for each other. They stood up for themselves. And that is something to be sort of highlighted and commended, I think, over the weekend.
80 penalty minutes in that game. So it was,
that's a lot, right? That's a lot.
4 misconducts.
Yeah.
2 for Sam Bitton, 2 for Jamel Smith. So
yeah,
there's that. But yeah, that game was a little bit like the Wild Wild West, and I think that's the way that Bridgeport wants to play. So the fact that you kind of went in there to their home ice and sort of played their style and still beat them says a lot about both teams, really.
Yep.
But again, they gave up 36 shots to Bridgeport. 36 shots to Bridgeport. My quick math, what's that? 78 shots in 2 games against Bridgeport. Woof, too many. And all on Colton Ellis. So again, I like the fact that this kid's playing as much as he is, but can we give him an easy night?
Yeah.
Just try to find this guy an easy night. So, taking care of business, going down to Bridgeport, beating them again, another 3-3 weekend. They go from Bridgeport to Providence. I think, I don't know which game disappointed me more, this one or the second Bridgeport one. Zarenko plays, and you just want to get the kid rolling.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always said, when you can't win a game zip, nothing to nothing. You can't win zip. So if you're not going to score at all, it doesn't matter what your goalie does. He could give up 1 goal. He could give up 7 goals. If you don't score any, what is it? It doesn't mean anything.
The game-winning shot was literally their first shot of the game.
Yep. And again, you start the game with 3 power plays.
Yeah.
3 power plays, a partial 5-on-3 in the first 5.5 minutes, Matt. And that's when we were talking about the power play. I said the numbers are the numbers, but when you need one,
yes,
when you really, really need 1 or 2, are they there in timely fashion when you need them? And if they could get 1 or 2 to start that game, quiet down the 8,000 people at the Amp in Providence, now you're in a good spot. But the momentum, just when you kill 3 straight penalties to start a game, no matter who you are, that is a massive momentum swing. And that was to me, at least, sort of the name of the game was that. And just do one other thing real quick before I toss it to you. Silvergard gets hurt in Bridgeport the night before. Didn't play the second or third period. Didn't play at all against Providence. Didn't play against Bridgeport either. So as we sort of play catch up with the injuries, both Bushinger and Silvergard go out in that first game. I guess Bushinger went out in the Providence games. But either way, just when you think you're getting healthy, bang, you lose a couple more.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to comment on the Providence game in a second, but real quick, the Thunderbirds did release their mobile app. I've been using it. It's great, very user-friendly, looks great. So job well done to whoever put that together.
Yeah, whoever did it.
I don't know how to make a mobile app, but it's very user-friendly and good, fun to use. According to their mobile app, right now, Silvergard is listed as day-to-day. We've had our little rant on that. I don't know what that means. I don't know where the injury is, to what part of his body. Zach Dean, Nikita Alexandrov, and Taryn Pfizer are still on the app listed as week to week.
Yeah.
Again, when I spoke to Nikita Alexandrov and Zach Dean at the Hall of Fame, they were optimistic. No walking with a limp, no casts or anything, and they said we're getting closer. We're itching to get there. They're ready to play, but they're still week to week. And then Silvergard is listed day to day. So hopefully not too lengthy of an injury, but hopefully we get him back soon. So here's my take on Providence, and I agree with you. I don't know if I could identify which game, which loss, how the game went down, which one was more frustrating, because they both were. But in that Providence game, you started pretty strong as far as controlling the puck and ice time in your offensive zone. I think they rattled off the first 4 shots of the game or something like that. That was a tough goal for Zarenko to let in. You and I both, we will defend the goalies when we can. That first one was a tough one. I don't remember who was playing defense there, but I thought he actually had him in good position. He was forcing him outside. He was taking away the angle, and that's a shot. Zarenko, it snuck under his glove. I don't know if he wasn't ready for it. I don't know if he was, his vision was blocked by his own defense. I don't know, but that was a puck that needed to be saved, and especially his first start in 2 weeks or whatever, it needed to be saved for him. The second goal, the power play goal. You can't really blame those goals on a goaltender. But where I will give Zarenko credit, and you and I think we were talking about this while the game was going on. We were talking what do we need to do to get Zarenko out of this? And my comment was, well, if he can't get himself out of it in this game, something might really need to be done just to get him right. To his credit, he showed some head strength, right? He kind of tightened down the hatches, and he did give his team a chance to come back in that game. Like you said, you can't win 0-0. So if you don't score a goal, the Bruins literally won that game on their first shot of the game.
Yeah.
And so, but Zarenko played well enough to give his team a chance to win. And, the team coming off 10 goals in 2 games against Bridgeport, you would expect the offense to be rolling a little bit. They just got ice cold. And that was frustrating. Those power plays, they had 2 partial 5-on-3 power plays against Bussy, who is not having a typical year for him. He's having a down year. And you talk about teams being in each other's heads, Bridgeport and to Springfield. The way Springfield has been able to dominate Bussy, we are probably in his heads. But he made this one sprawling save on Matt Luff early in that first period.
In the first period, yeah.
That was just beautiful. I mean, sliding across right to left, brings his leg up, and it looks like he just kicked the puck out of midair. Matt Luff made a nice little move, tried to lift the puck over him and couldn't bank it in. I'm like, oh boy, Bussy's on today. And it was just one of those games. So, that I think that might just be you're in a really hot goaltender. But when you have 2 partial 5-on-3s, you start the game early, you're down 1-0, and you have basically 3 power play, almost 6 minutes of power play time in a row, and you can't. You gotta sneak one in there. So
yeah, gotta have one.
It was very frustrating game from that standpoint, where you saw moments that the team could take over, and they just couldn't get it. I don't know what. I don't have a reason. I don't have an
no,
because it wasn't for, like I said, Matt Luff. He made a great play. You got this circus acrobat kick save from Bussy. The power play did set up at the blue line. They did gain the blue line. They were able to move the puck around. They did have offensive time in the O-zone. Just, I don't know, one of those nights, but frustrating nonetheless.
And this is just another reason why this league I find so fascinating. And I'll see if I can even get them all right. But, and I know we have a lot of Bruins fans that listen. So the Boston Bruins are a hot mess. And I think that the best option for them for coach, they have an interim coach. The best option is Ryan Mujanel, who's the coach in Providence. And it was no more on display heading into this weekend. They had Matthew Patra got called up. Ryan who's the Callahan kid, got called up. Jordan Offerly, the defenseman. Lizell was out. They had 2 or 3 other call-ups. All they did was shut out Utica and then shut you out.
Yeah.
Right? They lost all their firepower and outscored their opponents, I think 8-0, 9-0 in 2 straight games back-to-back. So, first of all, Bruins fans, that should be your new head coach, is Ryan Mujanel. Second of all, be glad that St. Louis isn't doing that to us, right? We have our own injuries, taking ourselves out of the game. But the grit, man, the grit in that team and that atmosphere that they have in Providence to have all those guys out of the lineup and then still be able to come back and have a performance over the weekend like they did is impressive stuff. And it's impressive.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I wonder if go back a few weeks, a few games, maybe not that many, a few weeks, but remember we had Providence here in Springfield, score 2 quick ones on Bussy, timeout, switch the goalie, right? And coach laid into him. I wasn't at that game, but Ryan did a great job kind of illustrating what he was seeing and hearing, and you could hear him throughout the Mass Mutual Center, just laying into his team for their lack of effort. And it did give Springfield won the game, but Bruins made it a game. They came back. I had never seen a goaltender
6-4.
pulled. I'd never seen a goaltender pulled that quick in the first period, but it looked like he was just pushing those buttons to spark this team. I wonder, and it would have to be true to the coach's character, but Connor Walchuk seems like such a calm, steady the storm, even keel guy. Don't really see him too high or low on the bench. That he's been animated a few times with some
usually the officials.
The officials, but and the Thunderbirds do a great job of post-game interviews with him, and I like what he has to say. I think that's a steadying, calm force. But does this team maybe need a moment where they kind of get outed right there on the rink in front of everybody, where you're just not playing to your capabilities, you're just not playing to your potential? Get there. I don't know. Maybe I just thought that popped in my head. You talking about the Providence Bruins coach and the job he's done. This is not a knock on Connor Walchuk. I think I like the type, his demeanor. And again, it has to be true to who you are and what your team needs. But
right,
maybe that's it. Maybe they do need a little bit of fire lit on them to get that consistency after such a dominating first period against Bridgeport, 3 minutes into the second period, timeout. What are you guys doing? Maybe they need that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's hard. Your options are to call a timeout and pull your goalie, or just bench, some of your top players. And I don't really like the benching because I don't think it is immediate enough. And also the Thunderbirds aren't really in a position to where they can bench a forward.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they're just so shorthanded. So, and with the goalies, it's like, let's say it's Zarenko. Do you want to go crush him even more and pull him for the second? You don't want to do that either. And you don't want to pull Ellis because you got to put Zarenko. So like, really, that's your sort of only option is to call a timeout.
And just
give
lay
them the
into
what for. You know what I mean? And sometimes I don't know much about the assistants, but sometimes it's good to have an assistant too, who the head coach could just back off and the assistant coach could snap the clipboard over his knee. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Especially too when you have a relatively quiet captain.
Mm-hmm.
Pekka, I don't think is the kind of guy that's going to lay into his peers in a timeout. So I do think that something, if they're going to go that route, should come from the bench.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know if it's Kano or if it's an assistant, but the other big one who got called up for Providence was Vinny Lettieri, and then today they called up Patrick Brown and Max Jones. So they're Mac Jones. They wish they had Mac so Providence is super shorthanded right now. So I'm interested to see what they look like, who's on that roster this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that victory there started with the coach on down. That team was just ready to go. And even despite their terrible penalties, they were still able to do it. And again, it gives you that feeling of like, well, if they're not going to score on these power plays, then we'll just keep being over exuberant. And if we go to the box, we go to the box because they can't score on us anyway. So, so certainly a thing there. And that one hurt. I got to say, I didn't watch the third period. There was football on. I had football on the radio and the Thunderbirds on the TV. And for third period, I flipped them. So I had Ryan on the phone, but I was watching football. So, it was just one of those games.
I don't blame you.
COVID ridden. We are going to move. I have a couple more things on the second Bridgeport game I want to get to, and then we have fan rants as well. But I do want to mention that this episode of the SRG podcast is proudly sponsored by our friends at White Lion Brewing. Their new location in Amherst on North Pleasant Street and in downtown Springfield at Tower Square, 1500 Main Street. The place to go prior to Springfield Thunderbirds games. Parking in downtown is still kind of a mess, kind of a hot mess. On Monday, I really wanted to park where I usually do, but I didn't know if that particular lot they were actually doing business, and I didn't want to get towed. I know it's a holiday Monday, but it's early, so I don't want to get towed. So I parked it at Tower Square. I went down to White Lion. I said, hey guys, I'm not here for a drink and I don't have a ticket because I work for the team and I need to stay sober. Can you validate my parking anyway? And they said sure. So they did that for me. So I appreciate that, White Lion. Thank you for hooking it up. It just goes to show the people that it wasn't I'm sorry, we're not supposed to do that. No, they're like, yeah, we'll do it. Sure, absolutely. So again, just thank you to those guys. And if I hadn't had to work the game, I probably would have been having some of their 20 plus beers on tap. I would have been having that pulled pork quesadilla, some Seuss mac and cheese for the kids, Boomer nachos, big nacho guy, huge nacho guy. I want to try those over there. And if you can't make it, at least check out what they have in their your local liquor store cooler as well. White Lion Brewing in Amherst and in downtown Springfield, proud local sponsor of the SRG podcast. Make sure you tell them the friends from SRG sent you. By our friends at Brewcade Agawam on Walnut Street. All kinds of stuff going on there. They're getting new machines, darts. They just got some new pinball machines in there too. They had electronic ones that just weren't cutting it. So they said, we're just going to get some of the good ones. So they brought in some of the old school pinball machines. So if you're looking for just a fun night out of games and activities and it's -10 degrees and nobody wants to leave their house, but you also want to get out of the house because you're sick of being in the house, Brewcade is a perfect spot for you. Go down there, take the kids, give them a sleeve of quarters, and let them have at it. And while you're there, get yourself a couple of cold ones. They got beers on tap. They have cans, bottles as well. They got a pretty good spread. So check out Brewcade in Agawam right on Walnut Street. You can Google them, check them out on social media as well. And by our friends at Landscaping That Fits, 413-847-0338. Who could think about landscaping at a time like this, Steve? It's like -52 degrees. I get it. But before you know it, the sun will be shining, the birds will be chirping, the flowers will be blooming. I can't believe it's already almost February. Like it literally feels like it was just Halloween. It really does. And here we are now getting ready for Valentine's Day practically, which means March is around the corner. And that's when you're going to really need your landscaping needs met. Rob is the guy to go to for this at landscaping. That Fitz 847-0338. Let him know that you heard about him here on the podcast. And who knows, he might cut you a deal. I can't guarantee it. Depends on what kind of mood he's in after all the ribbing that we do for Rob. But no, Rob's an awesome dude. Fair guy, trying to make a living the best he can, trying to be a part of this community, and season ticket holder, and supports your T-Birds as well. So landscaping that Fits 413-847-0338. And tell him we sent you. All right. Do we want to talk about, before we do the fan rants, do you want to talk about this Cole Bardreau situation? Because I do have to
sure.
mention this.
Yep.
So there's two players, Seth Helgeson and Cole Bardreau. Two guys that I respect the fact that they chirp back with fans. Okay. Now, look, fans, if you want to chirp these guys in the penalty box, by all means, good luck to you. Okay. Most guys just put their head down and they don't listen, or they ignore you and they just go about their day. And I respect that too. Helgeson is funny. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but Helgeson's funny because he'll be having a conversation with our penalty box guy, Bill, because he's in there so much. He and Bill like practically send each other Christmas cards at this point. And he'll be having this conversation, and then he'll just turn around, you motherfucker. So anyway, like I was saying, and he just has this dynamic where he does both. Cole Bardreau, again, if you want to talk smack to a hockey player, a pro hockey player, be ready to smack talk back. Mm-hmm. One thing I wasn't crazy about that Bardreau did, which again, he's a funny guy. He has a really good personality. So the fan that was sitting behind him, who's a season ticket holder, he's got like the Macho Man Randy Savage glasses on. He loves to chirp the guys in the box, and he's never mean about it or anything like that. Most of the back and forth that with players is like, yeah, let me see your paycheck, bud. I bet you get paid less than me. That's like the classic hockey smack talk, is like, yeah, let me see your paycheck. You don't make half of what I make, right? And so they had this like really brief tit for tat. And then Bardreau kind of like went to get himself some water. And then he went like this and squirted it in a little tiny crack in the glass and squirted it on this fan. And like I said, I know him. We interact because he's every single game he's behind the penalty box. Out of nowhere, some dude in a Yankees hat comes down and is grabbing on the glass, trying to rip it down to get the Cole Bardreau. Oh, you let me in there. I'll show you. You think you're a tough guy because you play hockey, blah, blah, blah. I'll come in there and I'll kick your blah, 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 blah. Screaming, banging on the glass, trying to rip the glass out. Okay. Now this, fans, I'm not going to let fly. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to do it. Bill's not going to do it. Security's not going to do it. Mass Mutual Center's not going to do it. First of all, what are you thinking, dude? You get in there. I give Cole Bardreau 7 seconds before you are in your own pool. Okay. Mm-hmm. Let's be honest here. You think your drunk rear end can get in there and fight Cole Bardreau? You can't. He's on skates. He's in full pads, and he has a shield. You're toast. All right. So let's just get that out of the way. But when you act like that for that long and that length of time, to the point where I have to use my t-shirt voice, which I had to do. Bill had to go get security, and I had to basically MF the guy and tell him to get the F out of where he was, because you're inappropriate. You shouldn't be here. Get back to your seat. We're trying to play a hockey game. Now it's to the point Ryan's bringing it up on the broadcast. Guys on the bench are trying to figure out what's going on. The refs have now stopped play, all because you are being a total jackass. Yeah. So either handle your own alcohol and find some help for your anger management. But to think for a second that you were going to go into that box and fight a professional hockey player, I'm sorry, you're a loser. It's not going to happen. It's never going to happen, and you're going to lose if it does. So I had to use my teacher voice while I'm wearing a mask and feel like crap anyway. Thanks for that, pal. Now Mass Mutual Security, Chris Dion, Sabrina Brizzle. Now everybody's got to get involved. They initially throw out the guy with the Macho Man glasses because he's the one who got sprayed, but he didn't do anything wrong. So now they got to bring him back, but now they got to find the guy in the Yankees hat. It's like, can we just... And of course, the whole time Cole Bardreau is just sitting there going, I'm scared for my life. I think I'm going to call my lawyer. Because that's just his like personality. Yeah. He's like, yeah, this is kind of freaking me out a little bit. I'm gonna, maybe I'll take legal action. Like, and I think he's being sarcastic, but like, because that's just his personality.
Mm-hmm.
Totally inappropriate behavior from that fan. Absolutely uncalled for, unwarranted. When we talk about dumping the popcorn on the Bridgeport bench, no wonder they hate us so much.
Yeah.
We're dumping popcorn on their coaches. We're trying to get into the penalty box to fight their players. Why? It doesn't make any sense to me. It was one of the worst fan behavior moments I've seen in a couple of years. Usually once or twice I have to use my teacher voice at a fan. That was probably the worst one. Totally unacceptable, totally inappropriate, and not on behalf of the team. Cole Bardreau, I apologize. And I actually like Cole Bardreau. I remember a game a couple years ago where a puck went into the crowd and hit a fan, and Cole Bardreau beelined it to his own bench, grabbed 3 towels, threw and ran back to the other end of the ice, put him on a stick and threw him over the glass so that this bleeding fan had some gauze basically to clean up their face. I mean, he's the captain of the team. He's got a face you probably want to punch. Definitely. He's got that very punchable face, but good dude. All around good dude who just happens to like to talk smack. And if you're going to talk smack and try to fight him, you're going to lose. And again, you're kind of a loser. So that was that whole situation that Ryan brought up. And of course, now that Ryan brings it up, no offense to you, Matt, now I'm getting text from you, text from Ryan, text from Luke, what's going on? What's going on down there? What's the big deal? I got Nate Costa now texting me, all because this jackass in the Yankees hat, dude, just ruined it for everybody. So that was that situation. Not our proudest moment as Springfield fans. And I think it's up to us. There's a lot of season ticket holders in that area, and not one of them, I've never seen this guy before. And all those people that I see that are in that area, and I'm not talking like old ladies, these are young, dudes our age. Somebody's got to step up and be like, hey, man, go chill, go sit down, go back to your seat. I'm rooting for this team. So are you. Let's just, let's nip this in the bud. And everybody kind of just sat around and ate their nachos. So, I don't know. The whole
do
thing
better. No, I mean, you're absolutely 100% right. We're talking about, and even if I don't know, I to be fair, like this comment I'm going to make, I'm saying that I'm 40 years old. I'm a lot calmer than I used to be. I don't let things bother me anymore. You got kids, you kind of settle that mindset down. But the guy sat in the box. What can he say to you that even if he did say something to you, like he's playing hockey, he's doing his job. You've got your life. What are you accomplishing by that?
And it wasn't even the guy who got squirted. This was a guy like 2 sections over who just came flying. Oh, watch me. I'm gonna go kick this guy's ass. No, you're not. No, you're not.
No, you're not.
It was dumb. If it was a season ticket holder, I knew I would feel differently about it. But no, this was just some jackass, probably from Chicopee. But like Helgeson has a thing with Al Arman. Yeah, and he I can't tell if it's real hate, but he does not like Al, and Al doesn't like him. And every time he plays and he's in the box, Al comes down again from 2 sections over. Hey, Helgeson, blah, 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 blah. And then they go have a back and forth, and then it's over. And then he goes back up to where he is, and Helgeson gets out of the box, and that's it.
Yep.
It's when you try to physically assault the players that is totally uncalled for, and that's what's going on. So you're absolutely right. Do better. So I probably spent too much time on that. I apologize, but
it's fan rant.
Something
so
that needed to be addressed because it's not going to fly. So as I guess we can, if you want to head into those.
Yeah, right before we head into fan rants, I was before the show opened, I was checking up on some St. Louis Blues news. Not good out of practice today. It looks like Philip Broberg, one of their defensemen, took a hard slide into the boards, needed to be helped off the ice today. Again, this is Wednesday night that we're recording. So eyes on, does that mean a Kessel call-up is coming? I don't know to the extent, length, probably week to week. I don't know. But Philip Broberg did get hurt today at practice and needed to be helped off the ice. So eyes are on that.
Not good.
How that will impact Springfield. I do think forwards, obviously, right now we are decimated at injuries. And if, hypothetical, a Kessel gets recalled back up to the big club, you're slotting Scott Harrington in. But now, again, you've got 6 that are playing every night, not getting a break. So, and it is the game of attrition, too, in hockey as we get into these February games here. So, but let's get into some fan rants. And really the kind of theme here is sort of the frustration the disappointment. Vin Carroll, friend of the show.
My favorite rant of the week, by the way.
His?
Vin. Yes.
Yeah,
well
yeah,
said,
and I like it. And he brings up 2 good points here. And I'm just going to read it and quote him the whole way. Oh boy, the inconsistency this season is rough. There's a lot of talent on this roster, but execution is lacking. They played a strong first period yesterday, referring to the Bridgeport game, and seemed to have a ton of offensive zone time versus Bridgeport, but that didn't carry over into the second or third periods. Got to play hard for the full 60 minutes. I have a question.
Totally agree.
Yep. I have a question as well as an additional comment / request. Number 1, are we going to make the playoffs? Number 2, I was at last Sunday's game in Hartford and felt that their crowd was a lot louder and vocal than we are in the Thunderdome. We need to step it up, fans. A few things here. Vin, thanks for commenting. Thanks for being a fan of the show and supporting. I agree with you. You got to play 60 minutes, and this is how we open the show, right? Not just inconsistency on a night in, night out basis, but now period to period. That has to be better. Are we going to make the playoffs? I do think yes. I do. And I'm not just going to say that as a fan and leave it. My reason for that is I really think the roster is only going to get stronger. I'm going to assume injuries happen all over the place. I'm going to assume you can't predict who is next and what happens next. So I'm going to assume we stay healthy the rest of the season. The roster will only get stronger. And right now we're 2 points out of a playoff spot with Hartford. You mentioned it. Providence right now is in flux with their big club too. A lot of call-ups there. How does that impact their play? I'm going to say yes. Beginning of the season, I thought they could be a top 3 team. I think the talent is there. I think we're in too big of a hole for that. So I'll take my L on that prediction. But do I think this team can make the playoffs? Absolutely.
I'm gonna real quick on that. I'm gonna do a reverse jinx and say no. And my reasoning is because I don't know if the roster is gonna get healthy. I like to think it is, but they don't. Zach Dean could be out for the season. We'll never know. We waited all season for Josh Jacobs last year with no information. We have no idea. Matthew Pekka, when he got hurt, I don't know if that was last year or the year before.
Last year,
we got nothing. The guy missed 2 months. We heard nothing. So Zach Dean, Nikita Alexandrov have been out for a very long time. I do not anticipate. Again, it's not like they had a sprained ankle in their back.
Yeah.
Did they go under the knife? We have no idea. Did they have season-ending surgery? No clue. So I don't know if those guys are ever coming back. And at this point, I don't even really think we can bank on it. And the other thing, my other reasoning is because I know I've been saying it's early. There's still tons of time. We're past the midway point now.
Mm-hmm.
We're past the midway point of the season. We're approaching February. You got to get off of 500. A game below 500, a game above 500, 2 games above, 2 games below. You either got to. I mean, you got to rattle off 6, 7, 8 in a row. Ryan said in the broadcast they've won 4 in a row, like 3 times. They've never won 5 in a row. You need 6 or 7 in a row. And I don't know if this team is currently constituted as they are right now is playing well enough to do that. And I think that without a run like that, Lehigh Valley's better than I thought they would be. Wilkes-Barre's better than I thought they would be. Hartford, is going to hang around.
Mm-hmm.
There's just too many experienced teams above them that if they don't make some glorious run, it doesn't look promising.
Fair.
So, sorry.
Fair. No, hey, fair. Now the fans, the crowd. You're at every home game, so I will defer to you for your expertise here, but let me chime in with my quick opinion. I get it. There are too many times that from the TV broadcast, it just is quiet. And we talked about this in the beginning of the season, the first few weeks of the season, that school day game against Bridgeport, where they were down, was it 3-0, 4-0 after the first? But what do school-age kids still do? Yell, scream, and cheer. The energy never left the Thunderdome. And the team always, every first star talks about the energy was great tonight. The energy is great tonight. I do believe that's why Springfield Isotopes are coming up. They are undefeated as the Springfield Isotopes. Their record wearing specialty jerseys is very good. It's a sellout crowd. The energy is there. So I think there's something to that, Vin, where when the energy just isn't there, and when you're home and you expect to have that energy, maybe there's a little something to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I tend to agree. The only two things that I'm ever find myself saying is either, boy, it's good energy, it's nice and loud in here, or I say it feels like a library.
Mm-hmm.
And this year I've said it feels like a library way more than I've said, boy, the energy in here is great.
Mm-hmm.
Hometown Heroes Night's going to be awesome because you're going to get
Yep.
You're going to get cops, firefighters, healthcare workers. They're going to be tying one on. They're going to have a great time, right? The Isotopes Night better be. The school day game, I hope so. But the loudest it's been all season outside of the school game is the ref you suck chance. And if that's when you're bringing can you bring the energy, with a let's go T-Birds chant on a power play, the same way that you do when you scream ref you suck? If you can do that, then you're bringing the energy. But if you're just sitting on if you're just, again, $2 Coors Lights, so everybody's just holding their Coors Lights, that's why they're not cheering or clapping. They got their hands full of Coors Lights. We need that energy. He's right. It needs to get better from the fans.
Brady Deniston, fan of the show, coming for your job.
That's right.
Is it time? His comment question: is it time to recall Will Cranley and have Zarenko sit a while? Brady, you are wise beyond your years. You have a lot of knowledge. Respect that. I think you're wrong here. I don't think you send Zarenko down. Again, if you're just looking at sheer numbers, not watching a game, you see 4 goals let in. It's more to that. I think this last run of Colton Ellis getting 4 out of 5. Fair, accurate, but I just don't know if, and we talked about this too last week, why do that to Will Cranley if he's not ready? So you destroy 2 goaltenders' confidence. You kind of stale 2 developments. I think, look, Zarenko is a professional. He's a good goaltender. He started last year as our number 2 behind Subban. He started this year. He started opening night. Z is a good goaltender, and he's a professional. If he's going through stuff, look, and I apologize if this is a little too personal and crossing lines, but it's public knowledge. Like, we know Zarenko just had a kid. Congratulations to him, but you just don't know. Is his sleep pattern thrown off? I don't know. I know when I was a dad, if my kids were, I didn't sleep. I couldn't have played. I could barely function being a teacher. I still barely function as a teacher.
Different reasons,
but for different reasons. But no, all kidding aside, and being serious, like, he's a good goaltender. He knows how to play the game. He is a professional. He is good. If there is something he's working through, injury related, mental, I don't know. You got to let him work through it. And letting Ellis play 4 out of 5 is, in my opinion, how you would do that without ruining his development and calling up a goaltender who's just not ready yet either, and ruining his development. So I think you just sit tight, let him work through it. And again, to his credit, yes, that first goal against Providence was a bad one, but he kept the team in it. And if the team showed up for him, we could be, if you score a few power play goals.
That's what it is. You score a power play goal, send it back to nothing. Now his kids
we're having a whole nother conversation. The team, if the team showed up on their 5-on-3 power plays, they beat Providence. And then what? Were we talking about sending Zarenko down? So, I'm going to say no on that one, Brady.
I fully agree. And poor Brady saw me with the mask on. Oh, you got a mask on? What, are you sick? Yes. Like, sorry, Brady. I'm fighting through it, big guy. But no, he is. But real quick, it's kind of like you draft a rookie quarterback. And it's like, again, Patriots like Drake May. It's like, well, you have Jacoby Brissett's your starter, and Drake May is your rookie phenom backup. You don't want to throw him in yet. But after 3 or 4 games, it's like, well, maybe we start the kid. Okay, well, you put the kid in. What happens if he sucks?
Right.
Now you've ticked off your main starting quarterback, and you've ruined the prospect. No. Yeah. You kind of keep it as it is. Of course, it worked out for the Patriots, kind of. But, yeah, you don't want to ruin both goalies. Completely agree with everything you said.
Josh C. Inconsistent play is killing us. Did I miss something between Bridgeport and Kaskamaki? Why are they always going after him? I think Kaskamaki's just a good young player. I think he's the type of player that gives the team a spark. I didn't really feel like maybe you had a different perspective. I didn't feel like they were targeting Kaskamaki. I just think the way he plays, the way Bridgeport plays us is if you're rushing the goalie towards a whistle, or if you're, working in the boards, you're going to get, again, I think Bridgeport is looking to poke and see who they can rattle. Kid's a rookie. Well, let's see if we could rattle him. I don't think it was anything personal there.
No, you're totally right. I think they have like certain guys where if there's a post whistle, like they're not going to go after Pekka, Luff, Laffy, right? But they were on Drew Callen all night.
Yeah,
they were on Kaskamaki, Hunter Skinner, Sam McEachern, right? So like they look at even Hugh McGing, like they look at well, these are the 6 guys we can mess with after the whistle and hopefully get a dumb penalty. Kaskamaki to me doesn't fit that. Maybe they think he does, but he doesn't.
Maybe they want to see even like, hey, you're a young rookie, you're 19, 20 years old. Let's poke the bear a little bit.
Same thing with Silvergard. I bet if he was playing, they would have put him in that category too. By the way, Josh Kasava, real quick, a happy birthday to you or a family member. Yeah. I feel like I said a Kasava during the birthday reads over the weekend. So if that's you or somebody in your family, sorry, I don't remember what first name I read. I just remember the last name. But happy birthday to somebody in the Kasava family.
Lola, do we have to do witchcraft on Bridgeport? She's asking for some friends. Hey, wink, wink. Tell your friends yes. Tell your friends yes. Go for it. Terriana, where's the defense? Our defense players are playing too much offense. Nobody's watching the goal. Kessel's fallen back into some old habits of turnovers. Laffy following suit to Kessel. These guys are a good team, and they have shown what it takes. Let's bring it back. We kind of talked about this a little bit last week, where I personally don't feel, I do think our defense engages offensively. I don't think it is problematic. I think they choose when to do it. I have noticed sort of an uptick in shooting from the point, and I'm all for it. So the problem isn't so much if your defenders are engaging and leading the rush or dropping down the zone. You need your forwards to kind of rotate around to cover for you. They have been able to do that. I mean, they gave up their first shorthanded goal of the season this past weekend against Bridgeport.
It was a bad one.
That was a tough one, but I don't think it's problematic. I think it's a good thing to get the defense engaged just a little bit more offensively.
Yeah, I mean, if I was to pick the player that I thought that had the best weekend, it's Leo Loof, and I confused myself because I'm like, well, Skinner played pretty well, and Kessel wasn't so bad, and Schooneman is Schooneman. He plays steady, and Harrington's fine. I'm like, well, that's all of them. Where's the problem? Like, why are you giving up 42 shots? So I confused myself because sometimes those guys look so good, and I think it's just one or two mental lapses. I love Hunter Skinner, man. Sometimes he's just kind of got his head in the clouds a little bit. And just even sometimes just that tiny little moment lapse in judgment can be the difference, but at the same time, I'm like, man, he played great this weekend. He was all over the ice. He was engaged. He was in the offensive zone, defensive zone, drawing penalties, getting penalties, fights. He was all over the place. So I don't know. I confuse myself. Sometimes I don't have the answer.
Yeah.
I guess simple.
Trini King, first of all, congratulations on scoring her game-winning goal in her Camera Cup in that first game. So congratulations, Trini. We're very proud of you, very happy for you. She wants to know why the goal on Saturday, why it was called back. I was trying to, I can't remember which one exactly it was. I do agree with you, Trini. I feel like there's been a lot as of late. I do remember though, and I think Ryan even talked about on the broadcast where he sort of was like, this was the right call to make. So I can't picture it in my head which one it actually was.
That was the one that was against Springfield, and the puck was, I feel like it was Kaskamaki was on his back. And the puck was about to cross the line, and I don't know if it was him or Kessel. Somebody swiped it right off the line, and I mean, I saw it on the replay. It was the puck was Harrington, on the line, not over. Was that Harrington?
That was Harrington's at home. Wasn't there one though? I think there was one on Saturday in Bridgeport that was called back, and that's what I mean. I can't remember that one.
No, I don't either.
I do. That was Harrington in Springfield against Bridgeport. That was a good, and that was the right call too.
Yes.
I do remember it was called a goal on the ice. The referees went over because it was a lengthy review. And I remember Ryan on the broadcast saying, taking this long, bad omen. When they take this long, it usually means they're looking to reverse something. I can't picture it in my head, so I don't want to speak directly to it. But I do remember Ryan, after seeing the replay, saying this was the right call. So, Trini, look, it's one of those unlucky breaks. It is what it is. And,
And no, the refs are not out to get you guys.
They're not out to get Springfield.
They're not.
And neither is the AHL. Like the AHL, if they know something was egregious, that's not good for the product. So it's on the up and up, and just a tough break.
It's quite simply, if the AHL wanted Springfield to lose, they would move their headquarters out of Springfield. They would go to Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, and set up shop. Right? Yeah. They like us. They think we're just as fine as everybody else. I got your last one here, Matt. Daniel Flynn. There's a player flying under the radar lately. Pretty much contributed to many of the past 5 games, and it's Simon Robertson. Couldn't agree more. Special shout out to him. We love our Scandinavians this year. I do think part of the problem this weekend was the Silvergard injury, because we've talked about consistency in lines. Mm-hmm. And that second line, I think, is what it all revolves around, of Kaskamaki, Dvorsky, Silvergard. You take one of them out, and now you're kind of shuffling chairs on the Titanic, if you know what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Robertson, I thought, was great. And I feel like he was mostly with McGing and McEachern. It was mostly Robertson and McGing. And I think the two of them, we talked about McGing's production this weekend. Robertson, too. The two of them getting assists on each other's goals, playing off each other, knowing where they are. Really good job in the neutral zone. Solid break-ins to the offensive zone. Robertson, I don't know what his injury was, but he seems ready. You know what I mean? He was hurt to start. He came back, got hurt again, eased back into it. Now he looks ready, mentally, physically, to be prepared to play some good hockey here in the AHL. I'm happy to have him.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it was Robertson, McGing, and Stenberg.
Okay, yeah, I think you're right.
But notice, and Coach Konowalchuk has been saying this. Sure, the goals haven't been coming, but McGing's been a playmaker, a leader, and you put anybody on a line with McGing, and you're going to see production. So I agree with you, Daniel Flynn. And flying under the radar, no more possibly. He might be sort of one of those circled names on the roster for opponents. For sure.
So we take a look ahead. Another 3-on-3 coming up here, as it always tends to be. It seems like every weekend. Starting off in the Lehigh Valley on Friday, back to the Thunderdome on Saturday for the sold out Hometown Heroes night. Heroes. So that one's sold out, and that's going to be fun. And then I didn't even know this was coming. On a Sunday, they're giving out Croc Charms. Sunday Fun Day 305. They're giving out little Croc Charms. I have a pair of Crocs.
It's also Kids Takeover Day.
Oh, it is.
Yes. Kids Takeover Day. So my kids are pumped. We don't have our assignments yet, but I know.
Oh, good. We don't either. My wife was worried about that.
Yeah, no, we don't have our assignments either, but they are waiting every day. Did you get an email yet? Do we know, buddy? We don't. And actually for you too, because this is your first year doing Kids Take Over with the Kids Club. You don't really find out till you go pregame and you sign up at the Breakaway Lounge. They give you their job assignments. You might get a heads up because you find out who works with you. So I'm sure you could nudge an elbow and find out. But
I usually don't know until the kid shows up. They say you're gonna have a kid. I'm like, okay, and then they come in and I'm like, oh, it's hi, I'm Steve. What's your name?
Nice. So my kid's looking forward to that.
The third period, it's usually just the first 2 periods.
Yeah.
The team is nice enough that I'm going to have my son in with me for the third period.
Awesome.
And he'll do some reads on the mic, which is that's great. Again, as a dad and a PA announcer, it's
fantastic.
Yeah, I'll be crying in there. Yeah. I'm so proud of you.
It is, but and I said this to you too, Steve, because you were gracious enough. My kids got to work with you last year, and it is. I'm not the one that works for the team, so I'm not coming at it from that perspective, but hearing your kid's name over the PA in front of a Thunderdome crowd, seeing kids on the Famboni, again, just their smiles, the memories that this team is able to make for the kids. My kids, I say this with confidence, will be lifelong Thunderbirds fans. And I hope, looking into my crystal ball, that someday I'll be able to go with my grandchildren and my sons to a Thunderbirds game. Like how that would be so cool for me. So looking forward to this weekend.
By then, Brady Denniston can have the mic.
Maybe yeah. So look, on the ice, this is the last 3. We talked about this, a big stretch of games. You had 9 straight in division. You won the first 4, lost the last 2. So you're 4-2 in the first 6. This is a pivotal 3-3. It's the hardest part of their 3-3. Lehigh Valley, Providence, Hartford, all teams that you are looking up in the standings. And with the exception of Hartford, you've got some ground to make up to start sniffing Lehigh Valley and Providence in the standings. You have to, you need 5 out of these 6. You got to find a way. In my opinion, Lehigh Valley is sort of that wild card. It's on the road. You've got to find a way to bring them to overtime if if you're not winning in regulation. Hometown heroes, Providence, sold out crowd. Now we're talking about bringing the energy, right? So not that it's by any means easy, but that is a very winnable game. And Hartford, we've played them very well this year. And I don't believe, I'm looking really quick, we have not seen Hartford in Springfield since the New Year's Eve massacre, if that's what we're going to call it.
Yeah, might as well.
A bit of a revenge game here in spring. We've played them since then, and we've been able to beat them. But this is a big 3-3. I would anticipate 2 from Ellis, 1 from Zarenko. I don't know which one would be which, because Connor Walchuk has shown he has no problem letting Ellis go back to back. So, is that Ellis Friday and Saturday, Zarenko Sunday afternoon? I don't know, but I would imagine you're going to see Zarenko once of the 3. And these are big games. Mm-hmm. We've talked about Lehigh Valley is very physical. They will play Springfield physical. So I anticipate a fun, high energy, high impact sort of game here. We can play that type of game. But we have struggled against Lehigh Valley a bit this year. So
yeah, we haven't seen them in a while. Yeah, exactly. So I agree with everything you said. And again, I can't even predict anything because like we open up the show, I can't gauge it period by period, game by game, week by week. I don't know at this point. Hopefully we will have a better feel, a better vibe, a better attitude. And it's funny because it feels like we just complained for an hour. Like you said, they're 4-2 in the first 6 games of the stretch. It's good. It's
granted,
it was all against Bridgeport, but still.
The frustrating part, but you have to win those games. Like
right.
Those are the games, and that was the frustrating part. These are the games you have to win. You didn't win them. All right, we're winning these games. The frustrating part, I'm an echo chamber now, is just the inconsistency. You don't know. We know how good this team can be. We know how talented this roster is. I wish it was just this easy, but put it all together, and just haven't gotten there yet. So,
Well, the one who always does put it together is our good friends at White Lion Brewing. We appreciate them. Appreciate them sponsoring our podcast as always. Go check them out in Amherst and in downtown Springfield. Our friends at Brewcade on Walnut Street in Agawam, and by our friends at Landscaping That Fits, 413-847-0338. Big shout out to those 3 wonderful local family-owned and operated businesses right here in your backyard. They support us. We recommend you supporting them. No doubt about it. Matt, rest up, buddy. I hope you feel a little bit better.
We'll be good. We'll be at the Thunderdome this Sunday. Fans,
nice.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for the likes, the follows, the subscriptions.
I feel bad not mentioning it. The loss of Paul Bowler. And I know it's late in this show and we got to wrap this up, but Paul was such a nice guy. Very, a lot of the fans, they get really excited to see me and meet me, and I'm excited to see them too. But Paul, hey Steve, what do you think tonight? He was very sort of low key. I would run into him at Cumbies in Agawam at 5 a.m. when I'm heading to the radio station, and he'd be in there getting coffee, and we would just shoot the breeze. Such a nice dude, a great kid. The whole situation is just sad from what I hear. This is just what I hear, but I guess he suffered from seizures. So they're thinking that he might have had a seizure in his car while he was driving, and that's what sort of took him completely out of control. And it just breaks my heart for him, to his wife, to his family. I'm sending my absolute deepest condolences to you all so much. That was one that I got that news and had to sit down. Because that was he's just a good dude, and I hate to see it happen. So rest in peace, Paul. We'll be thinking about you at the Thunderdome all season long, and I'm glad I remembered. Thanks for letting me sneak that in, Matt. Sorry to bring the vibe down.
Yeah, condolences to Paul, friends and family. Then that's tough. That's tough. From everything I've heard, I've talked to a few fans who knew him very well, and just a great guy.
He won season ticket member of the game the night before.
Oh, wow.
And we were talking about it. I was like, he won last night, and Luke was like, yeah, he did. So
tough.
But
we appreciate your likes. We appreciate the subscriptions and the follows and your comments. Big 3 games, like Vince said, bring it. Hometown heroes. Thank you to all our local heroes out there. We're not able to play this hockey game or have this podcast without you. So thank you to the hometown heroes. Kids, take over. I want to hear you, kids. I want to see you, kids, and take over the Thunderdome. And players, let's go team.